Sairam, everyone, and love and Sairam to our Sai family from the West Indies and other parts of the world. Welcome to our Unite and Inspire this evening. I hope you all are keeping safe. I want to remind you that despite the fallen numbers in deaths from the virus, that numbers are still very high throughout the world. And this virus has not come to an end as yet. So please don't let down your guard. I know many of you have been away from physical satsang for such a long, long time that you're very eager to jump back into physical satsang. But please be cautious. We don't want any one of us to take that responsibility of someone picking up the virus from a physical satsang and and having unfortunate consequences that would really reflect very badly on the organization. So I want to just advise you to move very cautiously. Swami is within us. He's right here with us right now. He said wherever his glories are sung or wherever his satsang, and this is satsang, so he's here with us. And even your own prayer room, he's there. We all love and we all miss physical satsang. But always remember that he's always with us, no matter where we are. Sairam. So again, welcome to our Unite and Inspire series. This is an initiative of the International Archiving Committee of the SSIO. The purpose of this is to archive the experiences of Sai devotees in the West Indies for future generations to come. Remember, many people in the organization have never really had the physical darshan of Swami. They are seeing Swami on YouTube, etc. But, these experiences are so valuable and are so unique and are so wonderful. And Swami himself has said, when, one of the 9 points of devotion, or is it 9 or 8 forms of devotion, Ajay?
It's nine forms of devotion, Uncle.
Yeah, one of them is listen to the glories of the Lord. And Swami himself said that when we listen to stories and glories of him, those emotions, that joy is experienced all over again and is felt by everyone. So all these experiences are unique, whether you visited Prashanti or not. Whether you have never ever been to Prashanti, you will have had unique experiences which need to be archived and shared. So we welcome all of you again to share your experiences. And we are very fortunate today to have a young man from Suriname, a brother, Kenneth Jharap. I've met Kenneth on a few occasions when I went. Well, I've been to Suriname twice with Swami's grace, and always known him to be very welcoming and a warm person. His family has been in the Sai fold for many many years. I've also met his sisters, in Suriname, and he's had by profession, he's a specialist in IT, and he worked in infrastructure and licensing. He's currently involved in lithography consulting for a local newspaper. He's been in the Sai fold for 40 years and has made pilgrimages to Prashanti Nilayam on 3 occasions. He was blessed with 2 divine interviews with Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba on his first visit in 1989. And Kenneth, we warmly welcome you to this session of Unite and Inspire to share your wonderful experiences with us. So, Kenneth, the first,
Yes,
Sarah.
Sairam. A loving Sairam to everyone. So, and my humble pranams to the lotus feet of Sri Satya Sai Baba.
Okay, so you all know Kenneth. His default language is Dutch, but he speaks very good English. So we will, he'll be able to answer all our questions. So Kenneth, the first question. Welcome again, and thank you for
Yes, thank you.
volunteering to share your experience with us. The first question is when and how did you come into first contact with Bhagwan Baba?
Uh,
Sairam.
before I come to my personal experience, I would like to tell how it all started in Suriname, because it was my mother who first began with the first group or center in Suriname in way back in 1982. And she was at a very young age, she became a widow, and she saw the movie Shirdi Ke Sai Baba with famous Bollywood stars like Manoj Kumar, Hema Malini, and that movie touched her so much. We all saw it, but she cried almost the entire movie, and she said, "That's that is my Shiva." And because she was very fond of Lord Shiva, she in Hindi we say Ishtadev. Shiva was her Ishtadev, and she saw in Shirdi Sai Baba in that movie her her Shiva, and shortly after that she read the book Man of Miracles by Howard Murphy, and that's when she got the inner urge and calling to go to Prashanti. She was really crying, and really it was as if someone was calling her from inside to come to Prashanti, to come to Prashanti. And it was we were in that period, we were in a difficult situation. I mean, she was a widow, my mother has 4 children, and we were in our teenage period. So it was not very easy. So my mother asked her mother, my grandmother, if she could care for us, and then she could go to India. And my grandmother agreed to it because she saw how my mother was really struggling to with this inner urge to go to India. And finally, she uh, got the time and the period in 1982, about, I think it was in mid 82, July or something, June, July, when she was finally able to go to India. And she met the family Thani, who was also going to India, and that was a good thing because traveling alone as a young woman was not really easy at that time. And so she went together with family Thani to India. And in India, the family Thani, they went their own ways, and my mother went alone to Puttaparthi. She, when she went from Bangalore to Puttaparthi, she met two beautiful old elderly women from Bangalore who spoke really good Hindi with her, and my mother can understand and speak also good Hindi. And that's how she became a kind of family with those two elderly women. And in Prashanti, they shared the same room. They had same experiences together with Swami. And I remember in Darshan, my mother told me that she saw how Swami was really a kind of someone who really can has a lot of humor, because Swami went to the ladies who were sitting on chairs, elderly women, and he told to one of those ladies in Hindi, "I thought you were dead, but you are still alive." And that was really, and everyone was laughing. Swami was also laughing very loudly, and it was really, at that time, it was a big thing to experience how Swami was interacting with the devotees, and that at that time, my mother didn't get any interviews, but she did the experiences she got from the darshans and Swami. Every day, Swami looked in her eyes very long, and especially the last day when she had to leave, she got maybe she told me she should be about a minute that Swami looked into her eyes, and when she a few days later when she came back, her little brother unfortunately died. And then she told us, you see, that's why Swami was looking so long into my eyes. He knew that my brother was going to die, and he was consoling me. He was giving me that support already from that moment. And that was the first visit of my mother. And when she came back in Suriname, she wanted to start a group, and because no one was here really involved with Satya Sai Baba, and she started the group. Maybe 3 or 4 persons were coming. It was not really that much, but it was a beginning. We had a little room in the house, which was transformed into the kirtan room, and behind me you can see still an altar which was in that kirtan room. And actually, I'm also sitting in that same room at the moment. And uh, at that time, there were also a lot of miracles happening. When we put flowers in the morning before a photo of any deity, Swami or Hindu deity, the flower in the afternoon, it would turn 180 degrees. It was always, as a young person, it was also always exciting to see that, uh, and during kirtans, it was also a great experience to see how the garland of flowers, which was on Swami's chair, was not falling in one time, but it was like dancing on the chair. It was swinging. It was going from right to left, left to right, and then it fell. It was everyone was really amazed to see such thing happen, and that's how those are the visiting cards of Swami, of course, and that's why eventually the attendees grew, and it became more than 60 persons, I think, 60 or 70. That in this room there was not enough space for all of them. They had to sit outside. And it was so wonderful for everyone to experience how the kirtan was done here. So that was my experience with the how it all started in Suriname. And
Very,
of
yeah.
course, for me, that was also for me the time when I got into the fold of Swami.
Very nice,
So
Kenneth. Those were really the glory
yeah,
days, because even in Trinidad,
yes, yes,
around the same time, the Satya Sai Baba organization was being formed, and in those
yeah,
days, which I wasn't very privileged because I joined much later. But I know in those days, devotees will talk about all the miracles and the Amrit and Vibhuti and Kumkum flowing from Swami's pictures.
yeah,
And what great grace your mom experienced, and what great faith she had, for a young
yes,
woman to
yes,
travel to India. And also, I remember that I know at that time I was uh, there was sand. There was sand in
yes,
Kushanti. There were no
yes,
tiles.
yes,
So I remember,
yeah.
in fact, when my wife traveled in '86 or '87 to India, she brought back some sand in a small
So,
container, because
yeah,
they said that Swami walked on all that sand.
sand,
We
yes,
weren't
it's
very fortunate to see the sand. And also in those
sand,
days,
yeah,
devotees could take photographs of Swami before,
Yes,
they became very strict about all these
strict.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
at that time I was also, but I will tell that later. Maybe.
yeah.
Please go ahead.
So,
Yes.
so the second question is, can you name two of your most memorable experiences with Swami?
Of course. My first visit was in 1989. I went together with my mother, and that was her second visit. And for me, it was the first visit also to India, to Prashanti. And we were fortunate enough to stay almost 3 months with our first visit. It was really a blessing from Swami to be that long there. And we, as you said, we were able to take photographs inside the ashram in the Purna Chandra hall. And at that time, there was no Kulwant hall, everything around the mandir was cemented, and outside the area, it was still sand. So the most memorable experience I have are those two interviews I received from Swami, and and also the in darshan when I sat in the front row. Swami came to me, and his feet were really between my two knees. It was really, he came so close to me that everywhere where I looked, it was orange, and the only thing I could do was touch his feet, and my right hand went down his gown, and I even touched his ankle, and my left hand just kept was on the orange robe. So it was, and it was maybe for 1 minute or so that Swami was taking letters from devotees, and uh, it was really a experience I will never forget, especially what happened after that, because when you touch Swami's feet, you know that this is a grace you will never forget, you will cherish for always. But when I stood up and I went away, someone told me, why did you hold Swami's feet so long? Others couldn't touch his feet. And then I couldn't answer that question because I was so still with that bliss that I was really quiet. And that person who asked me that question, he saw me how I was reacting. He became also very quiet. So, and that was an experience also I will never forget, because every devotee want to touch Swami when it is very near, but I didn't at that moment. I didn't think about that. I thought I want to be at Swami's feet, be at his feet. I want to be always at his feet. And coming back to the interviews, the first interview was really very, for one kind, it was strange, but the other way, it was really fulfilling also. Because why do I say strange? Because I was the first one getting into the interview room, and Swami asked me, who are you? And he even told me, are you Patel, this name? And I said no. And that made me think, but so far, Swami is omniscient, omnipotent, but still he asks who you are, and he thinks you are a Patil. And so he creates that confusion within, that, but I saw in that moment that Swami can be as human as we all are, but at the same time, he is also omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, But so it is the same thing that, and in the interview room, Swami held his right hand like this, fist, and he asked me, "What's in my hand?" I told him everything, because that was my belief also, that everything is in his hand. But then he opened his hand and he said, and nothing. And then I was looking at him. I was young at that age, and looking at him, and still to this day, I gradually came to understand what he meant by everything and nothing. Because it's the non-duality which Swami always stresses. It's an important teaching, the Advaita teaching, and in that it's important to know that Swami is everything, but he is also nothing, because you we are in essence the also Swami. I mean, we have the same divinity, but our ego, our layers of uh, uh, you say, how do you say, layers yes, we have to peel those layers of our ego to see that divinity within us and see why everything is connected, why everything is one, why Swami is in each of us, but not in each of us only, but he is us. I mean, it's very profound to be able to grasp this, So that was my first interview, and he materialized Vibhuti for me. He specifically gave it to me and wanted me to take it in, and that Vibhuti was a Vibhuti I have never tasted before and will never taste after that, because the commercially available Vibhuti doesn't taste anything like that. It was really, really out of this world. And coming to my second interview, uh, Swami was totally, his approach to me was totally different at that time. He was very stern, he was very strict. And in the first interview, he called me all the time laughingly boy. I was young, I was 23 or something. And in the second interview, he was still calling me boy, but he he with his index finger, he was doing gesturing like this and said to me, "Follow your mother." And I thought I did something wrong, because why is he saying this? So he was really looking very like a father who is very strict. He was in the first interview and the second interview, he was really like father to me. And in the second interview, he changed his mood and was very strict and stern to me. And oh yes, in the what I forgot to tell in the first interview, it pertains to my mother. She was also blessed to have Baba's blessing, and in what a way. Baba put his feet on my mother's legs, and my mother was able, Swami was putting his hand on her head, So it was, I don't know how long I'm sure that my mother was massaging his feet all the way through the interview, and that was out of this world also. These are the highlights I know I can share about those interviews, and also my mother wanted to confirm because she wanted to know if Swami was Swami did waved his hand like this, he gestured his hand like this and closed his eyes, and that confirmed my mother that was really Shiva for that moment. It was really an experience she will never also forget, and it is a blessing. We are very grateful, and we were that we had have to have this experience. So yeah, I hope this will do.
Thank you, brother Kenneth. I know in those days, because I also experienced in those early days the tokens, where you have to line up and then
Yes,
you have to
yes,
put your hand in a bag and
yes,
pick out the token. And
yes,
I remember, I don't know if you experienced that, but there were some foreigners there,
yeah,
some foreigners who believed they figured out Swami. And then they knew exactly where to sit, what line to sit. They worked out some formula. If you go there
yeah.
at this time, and you sit in that line, and I used to be very amused about that because, no one can predict Swami,
No,
yeah,
no.
and we always used to look forward to when. Did you ever get a chance to sit at the front of any line and be able to dip your hand in that bag to pick out
Yes,
the token?
I think I had the one or two times the chance to do that, because it was really exciting to do that also,
Yeah,
because you hope you can be the number one or two, But what
yeah,
happens, even if you are number one or two, sometimes Swami doesn't come all the way that in
yeah,
that direction where you are sitting, and
yes,
so the whole moment goes away when you think, Swami is coming now, it's really
and
up to
also,
Swami.
yeah, yeah. I also remember that when you dip your hand into the bag, if you're in the front, and you pull out a token. And if it wasn't the best one, if it was like 20 something, the whole
Yes.
line behind you will start, making a little noise.
Yeah.
And if
Yes,
it's
yes, yes.
one, then everybody will say,
Then
aha, correct line,
everyone's
Yeah.
happy. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I
and
know.
some guys
I know.
had the ability to they'll follow, because some guys got tokens so often, number one token, that people will
Yeah.
look at them, and if they go in any line, they'll go and join
Ah,
that line.
John
Yes,
Line. So they
yeah,
believe that
yeah,
that guy was a lucky, had a lucky charm. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that it was
Those,
really a different time that time. Yeah, it was exciting.
one thing though, I want to share with you something. You said Swami said, Swami's. We all know that Swami's core philosophy is Advait, non-duality.
Yes,
So I was
yes,
thinking, maybe I might be wrong, but when Swami said everything and
yes,
nothing, so I was
yes.
thinking that nothing is also no thing.
No thing. Yes.
Neti,
Yeah, I
neti,
know that
neti.
also. Yeah, net. Yes.
Neti, neti, neti. So nothing becomes nothing. I'm
Thing.
everything,
Yeah,
but nothing. It's like
nothing.
that famous, what's it called, Ajay, of Shiva. The Shiva,
Shankaracharya.
what's it called?
Adi
Shankaracharya.
Shankara.
Adi Shankara.
No,
Adi Shankara.
but
Yes.
what's that verse, that poem called, where he says, "I'm not the mother, I'm not the father, I'm not the food, I'm not the eater."
Yes.
What's
Uh,
what's
I forgot how it begins, but it is
It's a
like,
famous
yes, yes.
Shivoham, Shivoham.
Shivom,
Yeah,
Shivom. Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
Shivam, Shivam. Yes.
And he also says, uh, just like we say nothing and nothing, some people have also interpreted when he says he's nowhere, but he's now here, you know? So now nowhere
Now here.
becomes
Yes, yes.
now here. Yeah,
Now
so
here. Yeah.
we have to focus on. I think that's one of the things that Swami really came to teach us. Previously, we are very blessed in the sense that previously Advait or non-duality philosophy was only shared with sages and saints and so on. And
Yeah.
Swami came to give that to the common man, to
Yes.
the ordinary devotee. That wonderful message of Advait, which is everything and no thing. And you're very fortunate to hear that message from the mouth of the avatar himself, very blessed. Um,
Sure.
so coming back to the interview, what is Swami or who is Swami to you?
Swami is, I would say, the very core of my true self, and self with a capital S. He is. I I have read many books of Swami, the Vahini series, the Satyasai speaks, but and he stresses in some of those this Advaita, and then you begin to understand that you are the essence of who you are is really Swami, and if you believe that, if you live by it, it is really something else, because we are conditioned to think that I am Kenneth, I have a body, but you are more than that. It is really, and yeah, it's more than that. So for me, Swami is really also everything, but he is at the same time the very core of my true self. Yeah.
Very beautiful, Sarah. And I think that, presently, the SSIO is having some brainstorming sessions where they're looking at how we can improve the organization, and they have various groups. How can we improve the spiritual aspect of the organization, the seva aspect. Uh, Ajay is in the communication workshop or brainstorming group. I'm in devotional. I just want to share one thing with you that I was I was broke. Well, the devotional group, which consisted about 40 people from across the world, we broke it down into subgroups. One group was bhajan, one group was personal sadhana, and one group was study circle. So I've been assigned this study circle group to see how we can improve this study circle group. And what I got from hearing devotees from across the world, I'm sharing this now because we're speaking about Advait, from devotees across the world, especially the ones who come from the European countries and the Latin American countries. They're very, very focused on Advait, and they want to know more and more about Advait, and they want to have more study circles on Advait, and they're not very focused so much on bhajan, And one of the things coming out of this study circle group is that bhajan is just as important as study circle.
Yes.
It's not either or. We should be doing both. We should be focusing both on study circle and bhajan. In fact, one of the recommendations is that we should have a separate day for study circle, or on the same day we should have 2 hours satsang. 1 hour will be study circle to start off with, and then we end with bhajan, for 1 hour, because they believe that it is our belief in the group that we need to focus now on Swami's teachings. I'm not saying bhajans are not good, or bhajan should not be a part of our spiritual sadhana. But for so many years, we've been focusing on bhajan. And, Swami's teachings, especially of Advait, gets very little focus on. So it's important for us to, maybe the Suriname devotees should hear this, that bhajan is not everything, that we need to focus, have more study circles. We're not a Hindu organization. We are a spiritual seva
So
organization.
yes.
All faiths are welcome. And we should not propagate just Hinduism. We should propagate Swami's universal teachings. So I wanted to make that point and take this opportunity to share that. So coming back to your interview, Brother Kenneth, um, how has Swami transformed your life? Because, we all have a life pre-Swami, and we all have a life
Yes.
post-Swami. So
Swami.
how has
Yes.
Swami transformed your life, his teachings?
Uh, in the 80s, I read a lot of books which were available at that time, and it made me become a fully vegetarian diet. And that was my first step to ahimsa, and it when you become a vegetarian, I myself become more sensitive to the suffering of all living things, and I think that is important if you are on the spiritual path. I mean, I don't don't have anything against people eating non-vegetarian food, but if you really want a spiritual life, you should consider being a vegetarian. And when you spoke just now about bhajans, I mean, when I myself repeat the name of the Lord or any other deity, it what happens, it's a practice first, but what happens to me is it it stills my mind. It's because you are busy singing the name of the Lord, so you don't have time to think other things at that time. And at the same time, it helps to open your heart, and that itself brings it peels off all the conditionings you have about yourself and brings you closer to your divinity. That is my opinion. Why I love singing bhajans. And secondly, doing seva. I have a mother who is very sick now. She's fully bedridden now, and I'm the primary caregiver to her. And it's really fulfilling to do seva, because it is seva doing, you do seva to the Lord, but the Lord is also your true self. And you do it also for your true self. And by that, I mean, you peel off also a lot of layers, and you can experience the divinity in you. So that is how the transformation begins, also by doing these practices and keeping it, continue doing it also, so this is how it's influenced me. Yes.
Sarah, you're quite fortunate. What age did you become a follower of Sai? At what age?
I think 40 years ago, I came into the fold of Sai, but really becoming a Sai devotee is when I read the books of Swami, which was a few years later. So I think maybe 35 or 33 years, I'm actually really into the Sai. Yeah.
With me also, it was this around the same age, But I came with lots of baggage on my shoulders, of bad
Oh,
habits.
yeah.
But coming back to the aspect of vegetarian, I want to share something. Um,
Yes.
you know, I also have nothing against people who do not choose to be vegetarians, but I will say something, and I don't mean to offend anyone, and it comes from my heart. Initially, Swami didn't say that we had to become vegetarians, okay?
No.
But I do remember this course very, very distinctly, where Swami said, and these are the direct words of Swami, and I actually could find it first, which discourse, what year. But Swami actually said these words. He said, "You cannot call yourself a devotee of Rama, a devotee of Shiva, a devotee of Krishna, if you stuff your belly with the dead
Yeah.
bodies of animals." He
Yes.
said that. He didn't say we had a choice. He said you cannot call yourself a devotee of any
Yes.
deity, whether it was Rama, Krishna, or Shiva, if you stuff yourself with the dead bodies of animals, the flesh of animals. So
Yeah.
what more? What more do we need? The avatar,
Need.
the Purna
Yeah.
avatar, is telling us the direction we have to go, and we should.
Sure.
He also said, if you truly love Swami, you'll follow Swami's words,
Yes.
and that's something we have to share, that you cannot call yourself a devotee of Swami if you're not making an effort to follow the instructions of the master. All avatars, you cannot say I love Krishna or Rama if you do not make an effort to follow
Yeah.
the words of the master. That's very, very important, you know.
Sure.
So this next question is: you've read many of Swami's books. You're very familiar with the concept of Advait or
Yes.
non-duality. how do you see Swami's? The world is in crisis, you know.
Sure.
Presently,
Yeah.
the world is in crisis. There are no values whatsoever, whether it's lack of values in education, lack of values in politics, lack of values in business, lack of values in governments. And it has taken the world down a dark place, you know.
Yeah.
And how do you see Swami's teachings bringing the world out of this dark place into the golden age, as he said, How
Yeah.
Swami's teachings is going to transform the world? Saram.
Sharam, I think uh, as a devotee, first you have to transform yourself. You have to become aware of your own divinity. And if you know that Swami repeatedly says that we all are embodiments of love, whenever he starts a discourse, he begins with that Prema Swarupala. And we all know, we hear it, but still it doesn't, we are not really aware what that really means, because this love is so powerful. So it can wipe out all, I mean, everything, every negative thing. So the first thing we all devotees have to do is become aware and become aware of our divinity, so that we can be a beacon to the persons, the people who are in this world living in depression, in doing a lot of wrong stuff, so that they can, if we are a beacon, they will feel the influence we have on them, and hopefully they will transform little by little by that. And I think these times are also difficult, COVID times, and as in the last Unite and Inspire session with Bob Singh, he said, this is a preparation of what is going to come. So I think we as a devotee, we have the responsibility to live by Swami's teachings, and I mean also by that we have to become aware of our divinity. We have to become a beacon, and if we do that, then we can have influence on others. Otherwise, we can say what we want, but if we are ourselves not really capable of transforming ourselves, then it doesn't have any effect. So that is my main message. We have a responsibility as devotees.
Yeah, it is a big responsibility. Swami has said
Yeah,
that he's come to establish the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. And now that Swami is not here physically, it is our duty, because Swami has done so much for us. I keep telling people that excuse me, that this avatar has sacrificed his entire life for us. Swami
yeah,
came out for darshan every day. There was no holiday. There was no Christmas day or
no,
Easter
I
day.
know.
It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Every
Friday,
day.
Saturday, Sunday. Swami never took a vacation. You know, of course he went to Kodai Canal, but he was still giving darshan twice a day. And
Yeah,
when you look at our lives, every single thing he's given to us, he's shown us that even the avatar has made sacrifices, or is making sacrifices for the world. And why shouldn't we, who are devotees and who are office bearers, why shouldn't we also take up that baton and make sacrifices for Swami? Because we can never ever repay Swami for what he's done for every single one of us, you know?
yes,
And that's we owe Swami that debt. And you're quite right to say that we have to make our lives his message first, and then
yeah,
that beacon of light will spread throughout the world. And in spirituality, they say it just takes 15% of the world to change, and there'll
yeah,
be a sort of a catalyst reaction, the 100 monkey syndrome, and the entire world will change. So we have a great duty and a great responsibility, and we should not ever forget that responsibility.
sure,
If Swami could devote, the avatar could devote every single day giving darshan, then we as devotees, we as office bearers, need to understand that we need to spend so much time doing his work. And we don't really do his work. And you're aware of that, brother.
Yes.
He's given us a chance. He's given us a chance to liberation. He's doing everything. We are simply his instrument. All we have to do is make the effort, you know? And,
Yeah.
and, and when we get up in the morning, say, Swami, what can I do for you today? You know, that's a question we have to ask ourselves every single day.
Single day. Yeah.
So, brother, are all your siblings also still involved with Swami?
Yes, my brother is not really a devotee, but he's still involved. He helps us. He's now caring for my mother while I'm here. My other sister Ria is not lucky at the moment because she has COVID, and the other sister is just couldn't make it yet. So they are still involved with Swami. Yes.
Okay. It's so
Brother Kenneth.
wonderful that you came from one of the original families that started the organization in Suriname. You know,